now. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Purav Bhadwaj. I am a registered migration agent at Asia Pacific Group, Melbourne. I welcome you all today for the webinar on employer-sponsored visa in Australia. So we will be going through different visa streams and their basic requirements and how they can lead you to the permanent residency in Australia. And towards the end, I'll take a few questions from you guys, and then we can discuss how these options might help you for your PR in Australia. Okay, so if you can't hear me in the during the webinar, just drop a message in the chat. And if you have any questions, you can also type it in the chat. And as I said, we will discuss it in the end. All right, so moving ahead, we are discussing today employer-sponsored visas, which include the 482 medium stream, 482 short-term stream, ENS 186 direct entry stream, and ENS 186 transition stream, and the 494 visa. Okay, so among these 5 visas, 186 direct entry and transition stream are the permanent residencies. 482 and the 494 are the temporary visas, which may lead to the PR. Okay. Right. So we'll first start with the 482 medium term stream. So when we go for the 482 visa, there are 3 steps in it. There are 3 applications that we have to submit with the immigration. The first one is the sponsorship, also known as SBS. The second one is the nomination, and the third one is the visa. So sponsorship is an application by the employer proving that they are legally operating in Australia, and they need to nominate few employees for the 482 visas. Okay, how they do that is they prove that they are operating from a while. They can provide their registration documents, they can provide their business activity statements. They have to declare that yes, there is no adverse information against the company, and the sponsorship is usually valid for 5 years. So if you are going ahead for the 482 visa, and if your employer has sponsored someone in the past, so they may not have to go for the sponsorship process because they might have the 5-year sponsorship approval ready. Okay, now the second step is the most important step in the 482 visa stream. It is called nomination. So the nomination, most important step, first one is the labor market testing. We will go in detail about the labor market testing, also known as LMT. The employer will have to pick an occupation from the medium to long-term list, MLTSSL list, that they want this particular occupation in their organization. They'll have to justify that they genuinely need that particular employee of that particular occupation. The business should have the financial capacity to nominate the employee. Financial capacity to nominate the employee means that they should have financials good enough to not go insolvent, and they can still continue with the salary finalized for the employee. And the salary should be offered at the market rate, and the minimum salary figure is 53,900. So this is the minimum. Also, as I said, the salary should be at the market rate. So it's not like that they'll just offer you 53,900. It is the minimum salary, but the actual salary should be at the market rate. It can be 55,000 per year, or it can be 110,000 per year. It depends on the occupation they are going for. Okay. Now the third application is the visa in the 482 stream. So the visa application belongs to you guys, not the employer. It belongs to the employees who are getting the sponsorship. So the requirement is that you need 2 years of experience in your nominated occupation. you must have IELTS or PT, 5 overall and 5 each. In PT, it is 36 overall and 36 in each. You may also need a skill assessment for the 482 visa, but if you have studied in Australia and you have post-qualification here in Australia, then this requirement, you don't have to provide them the skills assessment. And as for the other visas and similar to other visas, you will also have to satisfy health and character requirements, which include going for the health examination and the police checks. So few more things about the 482 visas. 482 visa is that in the medium term specifically, that your employer can sponsor you for minimum 1 year and maximum 4 years. Okay, so it's up to your employer how long they want you to sponsor. It can be minimum 1 year, maximum 4 years. The experience requirement, that what we just discussed, that you need 2 years experience before you apply for the 482. The part-time experience can also be considered, but it has to, it will be counted on pro rata basis. So suppose if you have worked 1 year part-time, 20 hours per week, that will be counted as half, 6 months. Okay, and then you'll have to cover the rest of the period on a full-time visa. Okay, and 482 visa medium term stream also leads to the PR. It can lead to 186 transition stream, or it can also lead to 186 direct entry scheme, which we are discussing later in this webinar. Labor market testing, I just mentioned in the nomination requirement for the 482 a couple of slides ago that employer will have to satisfy the labor market testing. Now, the labor market testing is a mandatory criteria for the 482 visa, 482 nomination process. It involves that employer will have to advertise the position on 3 different websites or recognized mediums for at least 28 days within last 4 months. Okay. There should be a mandatory advertisement on Job Active website. Job Active website is Australian government's job portal, job search portal. So it is mandatory now that the employer must advertise for the position on the Job Active website for at least 28 days in last 4 months. Okay, then your employer will have to justify why they have hired you among all the other applicants for the job advertisement. That basically is to prove that yes, you have skills better than other people who have applied for the role. Okay, so you can discuss this with your employer. It's a mandatory requirement. I do get a lot of questions about this from the employers themselves, that this guy is already working with us, why we have to do this. It's a mandatory requirement and the employer will have to go for this. So 3 different advertisements on recognized mediums. So it can be 3 advertisements, like one on Job Active, one on Seek, one on Indeed or Jora, all different recognized, or it can be on LinkedIn. So all recognized job advertisement sites, right? Now, 482 is also available in short-term stream. The requirement for the SBS, the first requirement sponsorship, is the same. They have to go for the employer must have the valid SBS approval, or they'll have to apply for a new approval if it is older than 5 years or if they have not done it before. Again, for the nomination, they have to go for the labor market testing. They have to prove genuine need of the employee. Employee must have the financial capacity to sponsor, to pay the employee, and the salary, again, minimum 53,900, also known as TSMIT, or and the market rate. The occupation in this stream is from the STS-SOL list. And this visa, for the visa part, again, the requirements are pretty much similar, except for the IELTS and or PT or the English exam. In medium stream, applicants need 5 overall and 5 in each. Here, in short term, applicants need 5 overall and 4.5 in each. Okay. The further things about this visa is that employer can only sponsor you at a time for maximum 2 years in the short-term stream. In the medium-term stream, they can sponsor you for minimum 1 year and maximum 4 years. But in short-term, it's maximum 2 years only. If you have the 482 under the short-term stream, you can extend it for another 2 years, maximum 2 years again. So in total, a person can be on the 482 visa under the short-term stream for 4 years. Okay. Again, the part-time experience required 2 years previous part-time experience can be considered on pro rata basis. This visa does not have the pathway to 186 under transition stream or the direct entry scheme. Applicants, however, can apply for the 491 or 190 state-sponsored visas, the GSM visas, if they have good enough points or if they satisfy the requirements of the state for 190 or 491. Now, you guys might have heard about an announcement by the immigration recently, which says that applicant who held 482 or 457 visa under the short-term stream from February 2020 to December 2021 will be eligible for 186 under the transition stream from 1st of July. So we are still waiting for more updates on this, the requirements and everything. And if you guys fall under that category, you can obviously go ahead for the 186, right? Moving forward, we are now discussing about the ENS 186 visas. So I'm focusing on 2 streams here, transition stream and the direct entry stream. So transition, as the name suggests, it involves a person transiting from temporary visa to the permanent visa. So temporary visa holders of 482 or 457 under the medium term can go for this visa after working with the same employer for 3 years. Okay, and they will need the IELTS 6 in each or equivalent in other exams. There will be a new nomination application for the 186 transition visa, where they will again have to justify the genuine need of the employee, the financial capacity, and salary offered at the market rate. Okay. So if someone suppose go for the 482 visa and for 4 years under the medium term stream, after 3 years, they can basically apply for 186 under the transition arrangement. Now, the other one is ENS 186 direct entry. Okay, so this one is quite popular these days. It is again available for people who have occupation in medium term list. It has 2 application steps. First one is nomination, and the second one is the visa. Nomination again by the employer. Here, the labor market testing, the advertisement thing for 28 days on 3 different mediums is not mandatory, but it is highly recommended to prove the genuinity. Okay. Now, the nomination application, again, same as the other nominations we discussed, genuine need of the employee, financial capacity, and the salary offered at the market rate. The eligibility for you guys, for the visa applicants, is a bit different from the transition. Here, the skills assessment is mandatory. In the transition stream, we just discussed, the previous slide, you don't need the skills assessment. However, here in the direct entry scheme, you need the skills assessment in your occupation, which you are nominating. Okay, and another good thing about this visa is that 186 direct entry is that you need 3 years of overall experience. It can be from anywhere. It can be from overseas. It can be in Australia. In total, you must have 3 years. And again, for the IELTS and PT, either it should be 6 each in IELTS or 50 in each module of the PT or other relevant English exams. Okay, and here are a few examples on your screen how you can be eligible for the 186 direct entry. So suppose the requirement is that 3 years of total experience is required. So you can do like for the fresh graduates here in Australia, they can do the 2 years experience on the 485. Then they can be eligible for the 482. Once they are on 482, they can satisfy the additional 1 year requirement. So they have now 3 years experience in total, which makes them eligible for the 186 direct entry. Or similarly, someone can complete 2 years on the 485 visa and 1 year experience on 408 visa, which a lot of applicants are going for these visa, which lots of applicants are applying these days. And again, the part-time experience can be considered on pro rata basis. So pro rata basis means, as I told earlier, if you have worked 20 hours per week at the skill level, it will be counted as half. So if you have worked 6 months, it will, as a part-time 20 hours per week, it will be counted as 20 hours per week, 3 months. Okay. So the last visa is the 494 visa. Again, the employers have to go for the sponsorship step. The additional step here is the RCB approval. So RCB is the regional certifying body. So 494 visa is only for the regional areas in Australia. So the particular regional areas has a certifying body which allows them to go ahead for this visa. So at the time of for the nomination approval, employers will have to provide the sponsorship approval plus the RCB approval, RCB regional certifying body approval in the nomination application. Again, same requirements, labor market testing. Okay. Now the occupation list is quite wide here for 494 visa. It includes most of the occupations on medium term, short term, and the regional occupation list, ROL. Again, they have to satisfy they need the employee genuinely, they have the financial capacity, they are offering the salary at the market rate. And for the visa, again, the experience requirement is 3 years in the nominated occupation, IELTS 6 in each, skill assessment is required for the 494 visa, and as similar to other visas, health and character requirements. You guys might have also heard about the labor agreement or the DAMA. So this is a special stream for a few of the regional areas under the DAMA arrangement, which is designated area migration agreements. So few areas here in Australia have agreements with the Department of Home Affairs that people in that particular region can apply for the 482, 186, or the 494 in the occupations which may not be listed in the normal occupation list, like truck driver or the personal care assistant, such kind of occupations. There may be exemptions for English language or skill assessment or age under the DAMA arrangement. So the employer basically will apply for the, instead of SBS, they will go for the DAMA approval. They will go for the nomination and they will go for the visa eventually. Okay. So that was pretty much basically to give you the brief about all these visas, 482, 186, and 494. And as you can see on your screen, we have offices at different locations in Australia, in India, and in Philippines as well. So you can contact your nearest office. You can get in touch with a registered migration agent for any kind of visa, and they will try to help you out with your questions. Now, if you guys have any questions, you can ask me. You can unmute yourself and you can ask the questions, please. Anyone?
Hi, Purab. I have a question. Purab, can you hear me? Hello? Hi, Purab, can you hear me?
So let me, I got a question in the chat box for direct entry. So you're asking what's in it for the employer to nominate the employee. Just want to understand what is the incentive for the employer. Well, Demi, there are a few employers out there who specifically need certain employees because they either been performing really well or they are integral part, for the growth of the business. So instead of hiring an Australian citizen or a permanent resident holder visa, that particular employee is overseas visa holder, and to continue their operation profitably, they can sponsor the employee. So that's the basic incentive, and that's the whole purpose of the sponsored visas. So Chandra, you were asking about the skill assessment validity. So either the skill assessment is valid for the duration mentioned on the skill assessment outcome, or if there is no expiry date or expiration period on the skill assessment, they are valid for 3 years. So Tyler is asking that he had skill assessment before having the 482. When I apply for one, do I need to update the employment skill assessment for my current position, not just the payslip? So Tyler, if the position is same, you're going for the same occupation and the assessment is still valid, you don't have to renew the assessment. So if it is, for example, the validity is 3 years and you are still within that period, you can certainly use the old one. Or you don't have to update the position because if the occupation which is related to is same, you don't have to basically get that updated. So yes, you are right. You can just use your employment evidences, payslip, super statement, tax notice, etc. So Rohita was asking, do we have to wait for the sponsorship approval to apply for the visa or the nomination? No, you can apply in the sequence of sponsorship, nomination, and visa. You don't have to wait for the approval, but obviously, if the one thing gets rejected, the whole process will be rejected. So, but if it is just the acknowledgement, you can move ahead with the nomination. If the nomination is applied, you can apply for the visa. So Tyler, about the age cap for 186, let's hope they do that in coming financial year. There was a question about how can the company be eligible for the sponsorship. So basically we have to, it's a case by case thing. We have to assess all the financial documents, the organization arrangement of the company. Then we can advise you further whether the business is eligible for the sponsorship or not. So there is no certain requirement, but yes, it's a case by case thing. So let me, there is no obligation on either side to basically visa holder, if they want to stay in Australia, they either have to apply for a new visa, or if they are on the same visa, they'll have to stick with the same employer unless they get a new visa or the new sponsor. And the employment part, basically, it's under the employment law arrangements of Australia. So basically, if there is any issue, the contract can obviously be terminated. So John mentioned that he's been working as a, for 2 years as a health service assistant in the hospital. Well, John, I would recommend you sort this out with the employer itself. Your payslip should reflect the hours that you've been working. So Abu Bakar, that salary in the cash, if it was on the TFN, you can still prove it with your tax assessment and the superannuation statement. If it was on the ABN, you'll have to provide few extra documents like your activity statements, your tax return, statements from your employer. So Abu, yes, if you worked on student visa for 2 years and at that time it was allowed to, you were allowed to work only 20 hours per week. So yes, it will be considered as 1 year for the sponsored visas. So Tyler, yes, you still don't have to go for the new assessment if it is valid, even if you have changed the employer. So Dominic, it depends on your previous qualification and previous experience. So we have to see your case in detail. We have to see which occupation can be relevant to you, which can lead to the PR. I would recommend you contact on the nearest office on the list, and they will try to help you. Well, Abu, you have to, so I was asking whether the overseas experience can be counted. So yes, it can be counted for 482 or 186, direct entry, or the 494. You will have to, so when they said 2 years for 482 and 3 years for 186 direct entry, so it can be anywhere. It can be in Australia, it can be overseas. If you want to claim anything, you must have the proofs for it. So if you have the proofs for the overseas experience, yes, you can certainly claim it. Any other questions, guys? Yes, you can certainly include your dependents on a skilled visa. So if you are talking about the 189, 190, or 491, you just have to be careful about the point impacts if you are including your dependents. No issues. So yes, Demi, usually you have to be for the employer for 2 years after the 186 direct entry. So Ankit, I got your question. You don't have any previous experience in Australia, so it depends on what you are studying and what you have studied overseas. So what you can do is you can pick a course which can lead to the PR. You will obviously eligible for the temporary graduate visa after you finish your course. So I would recommend you get in touch with us. We can help you create a pathway for you. Amit, yes, you can include your partner in 186. So if you want to include your partner, obviously your employer must be aware about it, or your partner, or anyone in your family, including the minors. I wish I knew about whether it will be lifted or when it will be lifted, but these are certain things which are totally in the hands of the department, and can't say when or how it will be lifted. So Gladwin was asking about how do we find a local sponsor for offshore candidate. Well, so it depends on the employer. If they think that someone from the overseas directly can satisfy the skills, as I mentioned, they will again have to advertise for the position, and they'll have to justify that that particular person was best among all the other applicants. And if they have the sufficient grounds to prove that, they can go ahead with an offshore candidate. So 3 years of part-time experience as an accountant, part-time if you are meaning less than 40 hours or 38 hours per week. So it will be considered as 1.5 years for the sponsored visas. So don't confuse it, the experience duration, with the skilled journal GSM visas, where you can claim the points even if you are working 20 hours per week. For 482 or 186, it has to be full time. So if you have worked part time, it will be counted as half. So it's as your experience will be counted as 1.5 years. So if you work for another 6 months full time, you can apply for the 482. So 485 extension period and the eligibility will be available before 1st of July. So they are saying that they'll implement it from the 1st of July. So it should come before that. And Jivya will have to wait for that.
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
So at this stage, you can go ahead with you can ask your employer if they can go ahead with a nomination application. And once you complete another 6 months, you can certainly go ahead with the visa stage as well. So as we discussed, there are 2 parts for 186, nomination or visa. So employer can apply for the nomination, and once you have the 3 years experience assessment and 6 in each, you can go ahead with 186. So Ganandeep, I hope you have the skills assessment thing sorted and the PT sorted as well. So as soon as you complete 6 more months, 3 years in total, you can go ahead. All right, guys. So we will wrap it up here. Again, if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to get in touch. You can share your resume with us. You can talk to your employer. We are happy to discuss the eligibility of your employer directly with them. No, dummy 186 is not point tested. It's yes, employer have to submit the application for the nomination, as we discussed. All right, so we'll get in touch with you, Ankit. Thank you. So we have shared the details in the chat. Call us and you can book an appointment. You can talk to a migration agent, an education agent, and they will help you with the visas or the education pathway which can lead to the PR. Okay. Thank you guys. We will finish it here. Thank you so much for joining.